All righty, good evening. This is the December 15th, 2022 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The time is 6 o'clock sharp. Our first order of business is to adjourn to our work session, and then we'll reconvene into general session at 6:30. We have a quorum.
We do.
All right. We good to go?
Good to go.
Okay, item 2 and 3 on the agenda is our work session. We'll start with the roll call. I am Edmund Haas, Chair of the Commission. Vice Chairman Portman.
Present.
Okay, Commission Member Sue Blankenship. Not here yet. Cindy Bishop.
Here.
Brady Guerra.
Here.
Ed Marr. So he's going to be virtual?
He's supposed to be virtual.
Okay. I don't see
Julie,
him
do you know
on-
if he's hopped on yet?
I guess we'd see him right there in a second. Okay, maybe he'll join us here in a few months. And then Jim Walker's going to be absent tonight with other community work with the ISD. So turn it over to Staff Member Mary Cron Boswell to introduce staff and review the cases.
Okay. So myself, Mary Cron Boswell, Senior Planner. We got Matt Steer, Development Services Administrator. Mr. Mike Garza in the wings over there, Assistant Director of Public Works. Cole Baker, REIT, Graduate Engineer. Tammy McGee, Planning Secretary. And Ms. Shelley Fletcher is joining us this evening as well.
It's because of the free food or something. I didn't know tonight's agenda was so loaded. All right.
Okay, so first item on our agenda this evening is called the Avatar Development. So that's item 6. So if you recall, a few years back we had stack storage come in. First, it's the corner of Coppell Road and 121. So that did not come to pass. That property has since sold. And the new property owners would like to build 3 office buildings. So 22-story buildings, 27,000 square feet in total, so 9,000 square foot buildings each, run our math. About 23,000 square foot of office space, about 4,000 square feet of retail. So that could be spread out between the buildings or one building. Right now they have it the opportunity for all of those. So with that proposal, there's a couple of PD exceptions, conditions that they're looking at. One is, if you're familiar with that site, it's 2.7 acres, but it's not rectangular, it's not square. It kind of like, it slants up, it cuts across. There's residential on the east side, so it's a very non-typical lot size. The northern portion of the site has a lot of floodplain, so that there's a good section in the north part that won't be developed. It will be left as is with all the trees. But the portion that they are looking at, there's quite a substantial trees on site that they're going to have to remove. They're trying to keep as much as they can along the perimeter, and they're going to plant additional trees as well. But there's a significant tree mitigation fee that's associated with this, about $264,000. That's even with the preservation credits and the upsizing of the trees. One of the things, they are building a screening wall along the east side, so it's going to go up the eastern portion, cut across the back. It will stop short of the entire perimeter, so it'll stop essentially where the trees are being left alone, where the hazard mitigation setback is.
Somewhat near the floodplain, right?
Yeah, which we don't want. We can't block the floodplain anyway. So the other thing is they've tried to strategically place these buildings so they're not interrupted.
Hi, this is Ed, I just joined.
Hey Ed,
Oh, sorry, I'm late.
we're just going over item 6 right now.
Okay, great.
So-
Thank you.
They're trying to strategically place the buildings so that to provide as less interference with the residential neighborhood as they can. So they got the screening wall, they're gonna have a lot of trees that line that side. Building at the corner closest to Coppell Road 121 will have more windows because it really is furthest away from everything. There's a middle building, and that's angled into the site, so the windows and stuff are minimized on the rear of that. And the northern building faces into the site. So again, those two buildings, 2 and 3, I'll refer to them, have the same kind of elevation, whereas one has a slightly different elevation with more windows in the rear. The parking is really focused around the middle of the site. As I said, it's a very odd-shaped property. So the one thing is the building's at 30 feet. Typically, the parking will be behind that 30-foot setback. But because of the configuration, there is some parking within that 30-foot setback, which is a PD condition, which staff has no problem, because it's a weird lot, double frontage. They don't have many options there. So I think they've made good use of the property that's there. Let's see, what else? We've got some renderings in your packet. They do have a monument sign that they're looking to put up at the corner. It's a 6x10 with backlit channel letters. So hopefully the brick will match what bricks they're using on the building. We did send out notices. We got one response back from one of the residential neighbors, but I guess I'll read it to you. But essentially, they were talking about Coppell Road getting backed up during rush hour. No street lights on this road, and the commercial area puts safety at risk for residents, and it blocks the views for residents on Da Vinci Court. That was what they wrote in their letter.
Blocks the views to which, to the west?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay.
So we do have some conditions. Basically, they're gonna have to file a plat, they have to pay tree mitigation fees for tree removal permit. I'm not sure if they already did this or not, but when we handed this out, they hadn't updated some the quantities on the landscape plans. And yeah, so no building signages were proposed. So anything that they do propose will have to meet city ordinance. So that's the first one. Do you have any questions?
And lighting on any of the buildings that are on the residential side, they'll be full cutoff, so there's no,
Yeah, so
Like you
they'll have to meet
yeah.
all the requirements. They'll have to submit a photometric with building permits, so.
Okay. And the fence will be a brick fence?
Yes, sir.
Or wall fence?
Mhm. So they're gonna try to match what's already there with the residential side.
Gotcha.
All right, I did have one question, I guess in regards to the 3 buildings, I guess in meeting with them, you think it's all gonna be office, or, and it's like
Well, that's
curiosity?
how it's parked.
Okay, that's what I figured.
So,
You think it's a great spot for retail, or? Come on, we got a U-turn down underneath the.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's mostly could be office then, right?
yeah, I think with where it's located, it's, yeah.
I was curious about that. I was
So they
thinking-
could save themselves maybe 1 or 2 spaces if they just called it all office. Because they're parking at a different rate for.
Right. But, for one thing, I don't think it's a lot of spaces, really.
Yeah.
And I think, to have a few extra parking spaces is okay. Right now, they're meeting what they're required to have based on what they've proposed, so.
I had a question about the residential to the east.
Yeah.
Do you know, are those individually owned townhomes, or is it
Yes.
owned We are, okay.
They're all in separate lots.
Mhm.
They probably have an HOA, it's like a
Okay.
little park.
Because I had some friends that lived in there somewhere temporarily, and they were renting, but that doesn't mean it
Yeah.
wasn't engaged with them. Okay, great, thanks.
So the next item, and I've never seen it before, it's Victory Park. So we went through this item back in August. Went through city council, got approved, everything. And then they came back to us this past month with some detailed plans that we were gonna try to approve it administratively, because it, you know, to meet if they met everything. And then when we looked at it, we're like, hey, some of your buildings are bigger than what was approved. So the way it works is, if they were actually smaller, the same or smaller, it would have been fine, we could have done it administratively. But because it's actually larger, then we have to bring it back before you. So essentially the site hasn't changed too much in terms of still 10 lots, 16.7 acres. The uses at the front, still restaurant, retail. I think what ended up happening was when they actually got interested tenants that specifically for the restaurant portion, from my conversation with them, was that they needed more space, and so hence the bigger buildings. So that's why we're back. So to accommodate the tenants that they potentially have, the buildings got a little bit bigger, somewhere around 2,000 square feet or so. Also, so that was for 2 of the buildings. Then we had the medical office building that was kind of on its own. I guess the economics of that didn't work for the tenant that they were looking at, so now they made it bigger, so it went from 4,000 to about 7,000, 7,500, and it'll have a retail component, so that kind of offsets, it makes it work for them, apparently. So, needless to say, once you start doing these different things, it's kind of a domino effect everywhere. So one of the things that they did to make everything work was the banquet hall that was at the rear of the property, that got nixed. So that got converted into office space. So the parking does work out. The lot lines are slightly reconfigured just to make room for the bigger buildings. In terms of the elevations, everything is the same. The only building that really changed was the medical office building, because it's a different shape altogether. But in terms of, it looks like the other buildings that were approved previously. So I think they do have some tenants. We'll see if they mention any of them. One of the things that staff looked at was, okay, so you're coming in with these 4, so what you're looking at tonight is a revision of the overall concept plan, and then they came in with 4 lots that for detailed site plan, meaning they want to move forward and build these. So that's lot 3, 4, 9, and 10. So 3, 4 is on Beltline, the main entryway, and then 9 and 10 are towards Hackberry. So the corner and the one just off the corner. So in our conversation with them, like, okay, so what are you planning to do? And we were looking at the plan. So those 4 buildings, so we have a paving plan for phase 1. Essentially, there's a spine, a central spine from Dividend coming in all the way through to Hackberry, and then all the drives up on Beltline will be all constructed with phase 1. So that will provide for access, emergency access, so the fire department will be satisfied and provide good entrance and exit to the site. One of the things that we also talked with them is, doing a linear park with phase 1 versus waiting until phase 2.
I'm sorry, what?
The linear park, like the focal point that's kind of in the middle.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that part hasn't changed, just it's gonna be done sooner rather than later. And that's pretty much it. We sent out notices, no one responded,
Nobody said no?
no. So really that plan hasn't changed much except for the buildings up front got bigger, but they, you know, accommodated for the parking, shifting some lot lines, changing some of the uses in the rear of the property. That's it.
I think I must have missed that meeting the last time in August. That was one that I missed, so.
Okay.
So you were saying, sorry, this has already gone over, but,
Yeah.
so these 4 buildings that'll be done in phase 1, you can also access them from Dividend or Hackberry?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, so there's an entrance from Dividend, another entrance from Hackberry. Those will be constructed, so that's the kind of north-south spine. And then the entrances off of Beltline themselves will be constructed. Yeah, so there'll be good access, and it'll, you know, also count for fire lane and fire coverage.
great.
What's the status of the hotel?
That's a good question.
They're under construction.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just haven't been over there. I stay away from that area with all the
All the construction.
reconstruction on the road there.
Mary, I did have one question. I'm sorry.
Slowly under
Yeah.
So for site 4, and
Mhm.
again, it's been a while since we had that other discussion. So that pad site, you said it's increasing in size, right?
The
restaurant-
building.
The building is. So
Yeah.
I know there was some discussion on the flow of traffic because there's a drive-through there.
Mhm.
Is that, I forget what the original size of the building was, but is that going to impact any of that?
No, that building actually is not that much bigger.
Okay,
So, like lot 3, they went from 10,350 to 12,500, and then lot 4 went from 9,550 to 10,990.
oh, okay, okay.
So that one's not as bad. The biggest change was, like, the first building was about 2,000, and then the medical office building, which almost doubled
Yeah.
in size.
Okay.
The medical office is a pretty good generator, parking wise, but.
Yeah, but half of it is gonna be retail now. So in terms of what we took to council, unless you guys have any other questions. Okay. So we did go to council Tuesday, and we took firehouse subs, that was Matt's project, in the Braywood Shopping Center. That was approved by city council on Tuesday night. And then the other item that we took was the Old Town Main Street project, down at 509 West Bethel. And so that project was ultimately denied. And we'll see what happens with that one. It was a late night, that's all I can say.
What was the vote on the denial?
It was, well, they had several motions. So each motion kind of failed. So really, I think each motion failed, so that's what happened. So it wasn't ultimately approved because every motion failed.
Mary, what was some of the context around why it wasn't approved?
So I know they were talking about maybe providing more retail component on, because the way it was proposed, he had 3 office and 3 retail. And so I think they wanted to see more retail type uses, not as much office use was, you know, some of the comments that were said.
Density
Density,
was a concern.
yeah. They had there was a lot of banter back and forth. But, yes, and, you know, different opinions about what should be there. You know, Chris Collins, they were talking about the retail and whether there was enough retail. So essentially, at the end of the day, it did not pass.
Also, there was talk about adding restaurant use to,
Yeah.
to the first floor. So that generated a little bit of traction with
Yeah.
council.
What's the next steps for that, that they're gonna take?
Well, that proposal's dead, so unless they want to come back with something else, they'd have to go through the process again, and so you'd see it again. You'd see whatever was submitted again, because that proposal as proposed is dead. That's it. We will not be having a meeting in January. Right? Okay. So enjoy your Christmas holiday in January.
It'll extend into January, through January.
Through January, yes.
I apologize, I may have probably missed this in one of the meetings I missed, but in regards to the carports and all, what transpired with that?
So that was approved by council. So essentially, they have about a year from when it got approved to the ones that that were already existing have to come get a permit. And then if anyone else wants one, they have to go and apply for a permit. So I'm not sure on the count of how many have come and done that.
Just curious about that, okay.
Yeah.
And then those that were not standard, they had to have an engineer look at them, or was
No.
the city gonna provide that?
No, the council actually did not require that. They took that off the condition.
Okay.
So what happens with a house that has a carport that's improperly constructed? When it falls,
And they sue the city.
they're gonna sue whoever's got their car under the carport, which is probably gonna be the homeowner. And you can't sue yourself, so the homeowner's gonna bear the loss though when his insurance company comes back and say, why didn't you get a properly permitted carport?
Ooh, I didn't think about that angle, the insurance.
Yeah.
That's gonna be tough.
That's it. I don't have an answer for you.
There isn't an answer. That's a future lawsuit somebody's gonna fight.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll adjourn our work session and reconvene in general session at 6:30.
Thank you for dinner, it was good.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
stuff.
you're very welcome.
All right. Okay, the time is 6:30 and we are now reconvening into general session. We have all the commission members present except Jim Walker. Ed Marr is with us tonight virtually. Item 4 on the agenda is citizens' appearance. Is there anyone here that's speaking on any item not on the agenda? Seeing none, okay, I'll move past on to item 5. Actually, Mary, did we receive any requests or any written comments for citizens' appearance?
No, sir. Only one response to
Okay.
one of the zoning cases.
Okay. Item 5 is approval of our November meeting, the meeting minutes. Are there any comments by the commission, or is there a motion?
I will move, Mr. Chairman, to approve the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of November 17, 2022, as written.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Portman. Is there a second?
I second.
Second, Commissioner Guerra. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Guerra,
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman,
Aye.
Chairman Haas,
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer,
Aye.
and Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, item 6 on the agenda is a public hearing to consider approval of PD-299R-C, the Avatar Development, a zoning change request from Plan Development Number 299 Commercial to Plan Development 299 Revised Commercial, to revise the plan development to allow for 3 9,000 square foot office/retail buildings on approximately 2.7 acres of property located on the northeast corner of North Coppell Road and State Highway 121 at the request of Avatar Realty Group and being represented by Greg Guerin of East Star Design. We have a staff presentation by Ms. Mary Cron Boswell. Mary?
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This is item 6. This is properties located at the northeast corner of North Coppell and State Highway 121. Again, it is approximately 2.7 acres. And it is to revise the plan development to allow for the 3 office retail buildings. Previously, it was approved for a stacked storage facility. So while this lot is approximately 2.7 acres in size, it has a non-traditional shape. As you can see, it's angled on the west side and further up on the east side where it abuts the residential patio homes. The northern portion of the site is in the floodplain and is not developable, so that's identified in green on the screen. The original plan was to build a storage facility here with a retail space, which did not materialize, and the property has since been sold. The current owners want to develop 3 office retail buildings on site. Each building is proposed to be 2 stories and 9,000 square feet. There's one building located in the north corner of North Coppell Road and State Highway 121, fronts Coppell Road, and the second building located to the northeast of the first, basically in the center of the lot, facing State Highway 121. It's approximately 83 feet from the common property line from the patio homes. The third building is on the north side of the property and faces into the lot, with the side of the building being approximately 30 feet from the common property line. As I mentioned, each building is parked for both retail and office uses, with an overall 23,000 square feet proposed for the office, 4,000 square feet proposed for the retail, and 97 parking spaces, both required and provided on site. The majority of the parking spaces are located around the middle building. So the buildings were situated on the site to provide a buffer from the adjacent residential units. There is a masonry screening wall identified in the yellow that is proposed to be constructed. So it'll go from the front all the way to the erosion hazard setback line at the rear of the property. So staff supports, so it doesn't go all the way to the end of the property line because there is an erosion hazard setback line. This is actually a better spot for it to end. So staff supports this because of the erosion hazard setback and the rest of the property remaining in its natural state. Access to the site will be provided by a driveway on North Coppell Road and a second driveway on State Highway 121. Due to the irregular shape of the lot and the fact that this is a corner lot with a double frontage. The building and parking is proposed to be situated as shown, with typically those parking spots wouldn't be ahead of the building, but as I said, this building, this lot is non-typical, and staff supports the variance for the parking to be where it is. So in terms of landscaping, the property is heavily treed with over 2,100 caliper inches of protected trees on this less than 3-acre site. The proposal identifies the majority of trees along the perimeter of the site will remain, while trees located interior to the site will need to be removed to allow for the buildings and associated parking. The northern portion of the site, which is also heavily treed and located in the floodplain, will remain undisturbed. So there's approximately 52 trees to be planted on site, and they've been upgraded from a 3-inch to a 4-inch caliper. A large number of trees will be planted along the perimeter, specifically along the common property line with residential. These trees, along with the proposed screening wall and placement of the buildings, will help provide privacy for the residents. So in terms of tree mitigation fees, they're estimated to be about $264,700, even applying the allowed preservation credits and upsizing of the overstory trees for this plan. So in terms of elevations for the building, the architect worked strategically to provide buildings that would be attractive and still provide privacy to the residential neighbors. The 3 buildings will be very similar with slight changes depending on the location on site. The idea being to provide additional privacy for the neighbors. The buildings will contain 2 different brick colors, large windows in the front of the buildings with a metal canopy. A brick cornice will line the top of the buildings, which will be 35 feet in height and include a parapet. So this first illustration that you're looking at is the building closest to 121 and Coppell Road. This next building represents the other 2 buildings on site. And here we just have some renderings. Basically, your perspective here is from looking at from State Highway 121, looking onto the site. The next one is from the corner of North Coppell Road and State Highway 121. And the third is looking from Coppell Road into the site. So in terms of signage, there is one monument sign proposed for the site to be located at the corner of 121 and Coppell Road. There were no plans submitted for wall signage, therefore all other signs must conform to standard city sign regulations. The monument sign will be 6 feet in height, 10 feet wide, with aluminum channel letters, backlit. The bottom bricks that you're looking at are the bricks proposed for the building itself. So because this is a zoning request, we did send out letters. 22 notices were sent within the 200 feet as required by state law. Additional 17 courtesy notices within the 800 feet. We did receive 1 letter from a resident on Rembrandt Court who was not in favor of the request. They were talking about, their letter states that there's traffic on North Coppell during rush hour. This will add to a nuisance. There's no street lights. And that the commercial area puts safety at risk for residents. It also blocks the view for residents on Da Vinci Court. So staff is recommending approval of this request subject to the following conditions. 1, that there may be additional comments during detailed engineering review. 2, that a final plat is required and cannot be filed until buildings have been removed. Oh, this is not right. um, until final plat is required. Sorry. The tree removal permit is required, that they will have to update the quantity of the trees on the landscape plan. To allow the masonry screening wall to end as shown, to allow the buildings and parking to be located on the site plan as shown, and that building signage must conform with city sign ordinance regulations. So I apologize, number 2 is slightly incorrect. Basically, that should say that a final plat is required.
I'm sorry, say that again, Mary?
So number 2, I apologize, is not written correctly. That should just say that a final plat is required.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, that's the end of my presentation. I'm sorry.
Grand finale here.
Yeah. The applicant is here as well, the applicant's representative, if you have any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mary. Any questions by the commission of staff? Okay, Cindy?
I have one question, Mary. If you could go back a couple drawings, wait, go. It looked like there was a balcony that would overlook the residences. So there was a drawing. Go forward some, please. A few more. That shows all 3 buildings configured on the lot. There we go. There we go. So I guess the question is, are there any balconies on the buildings that face the residences?
I believe there are some balconies shown, but I'll let Greg, the architect, answer that.
Okay. Oh, here's Da Vinci Court. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's like building 2, but on the far end by 121.
So building.
And building A.
It says 1A.
Is that a
right.
balcony? It's hard to tell behind the tree on the
So it
second
looks like a
floor.
balcony, but it looks into the circular court.
The cul-de-sac
Yeah,
or
the
whatever.
cul-de-sac.
Okay. And then my only other question was on I think the first figure that you had, there was a blue dashed line.
So that's just showing you the setback line, and that the parking spots are in front of that blue dash line.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mary had 2 questions there. With regards to the fence, so it's a masonry fence, so on the, I guess, the southeast corner of the site, we'll have a masonry fence abutting up to the residents, their individual fences, correct? There'll be no space in between?
Right, so I believe their intention is to speak with the owners and have one common.
Oh, one common fence?
Yeah.
Okay, great idea. And I like the idea of that fence being extended. I'm just thinking about the far lots, lot 20 and 19. Just, if it was stopped short, it would be kind of different, but I think it's probably a good idea just for screening and privacy, unless.
Well, it actually goes up to about midpoint of that green lot. I'm not sure if you can see it.
I see the yellow. Does it stop short of
Yeah.
there?
So it is the yellow line.
Okay.
So
I
it
see that.
stops at the hazard, erosion hazard
Yeah, that makes sense to
setback.
me. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Great question on the balcony there, Cindy. And then, I guess with regards to lighting, you had mentioned in pre-session that that'll all be part of the development review and the engineering review for cutoff.
Correct. So
Okay.
with their building permits, they'll have to provide photometrics and that.
And then I guess likewise, if TxDOT felt that there was a need, since the frontage road is state, if they felt the need for a TIA, they would require it. I guess that's part of the applicant to check in with TxDOT.
Right, so, yes, I'm seeing yes.
I see Mike nodding yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So he'll be, as part of the development review, if there's that need for that, he'll take a look at that. Okay, got it. Any other questions of staff? Okay, is the applicant here to present the case? Come on down. And if we can get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, good evening. My name is Greg Guerin. I'm an architect with E-Star Design at P.O. Box 53, Forney, Texas.
Okay.
Good
Very
to see you guys again. It's been a couple years.
Yep, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So I guess first things first, are you in agreement with the conditions as presented by staff?
Yes.
Okay. And then there was some follow-on questions with regards to the balconies, and was that satisfied? Are you satisfied there, Cindy?
You could probably You could probably speak to that more. I know it's your intention to maximize the privacy of the residences, the townhomes to the east. So I was just a little concerned that there was a balcony on that northernmost building that appeared to face the townhome. So could you speak about that, please?
Yeah. Could we look at that image from the cul-de-sac, please? So yeah, there are wraparound balconies on that front facade of that design. And so that does have one on the corner looking onto the cul-de-sac. So on that building, we could remove that one on building 1A if needed.
Looks like it's in the front yard, but, you know.
I know.
So you can see,
Because I don't know, whoever has that house, I guess there's a house there right on the corner.
Yeah, but then these over here.
Right, those guys too, right. Yeah, I think I'd be more comfortable with the project if the balcony that faced the cul-de-sac was removed. I'm not so concerned about the balcony on building number 2 because that's further away and you've got a parking lot separating the balcony and the homes.
Okay.
yeah, that sounds good. And on the flat elevation view, Mary, a couple images back,
That one?
the two-dimensional, that view, the top left elevation, so the right side of that building, that's where the railing is. You can see the typical building. So on this building 1A, we could remove that balcony for that building
Or at least that side of it.
Right.
as a condition.
Yeah, I would be happy with that.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to the presentation? Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Fred?
I did have one question, I guess, in regards to the transition into that floodplain with the landscaping. Can you kind of describe how that transition occurs? Or is it just going to be some type of like screening wall or?
Yeah, into the flood area.
Yes. Just behind that building on the north. I'm just curious how that you would transition into that area.
So yeah, our landscape architect has four 4-inch trees planted. Those, you can see those 4 trees,
Yes.
and then he has ground cover. Let's see what that. I think it's Bermuda grass in the light color green.
Okay. Just curious, like I said, I obviously, not much you can do, but I just thought it'd be, nice if there was that natural transition into that area versus just being dramatic, from Bermuda grass to the floodplain.
Just a general comment or
Yes.
condition?
Oh, well, just a comment. Like I said, I'm not sure what else could be done regarding that, but.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of trees. Once you get past that dash line, they're in gray. They're just overlapping one after another. It's just a whole wall of trees right there after that line.
Yeah, there's some pretty big trees, 30 inchers that are going to be,
Yeah,
but there's an appropriate tree mitigation fee that goes with it to take care of that, so. Okay. Sorry I missed you earlier, Sue Blankenship has now joined us. Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you much.
thank you very much.
This
Good
is
to
a
see
public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for or against the proposed application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by the commission? Or is there a motion? You want to make a motion and amend it with the, okay.
Excuse me, so I move to approve agenda item 6. I've never moved before, so
That's
I
okay.
don't know how much, do I have to read the whole thing?
Just,
whole-
no,
part
as
of it?
stated with an additional condition.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let me start. So I move to approve agenda item number 6, which is the approval of PD-299R-C, zoning change request from PD 299-C to 299R-C, with the exceptions stated, or with the conditions presented by the staff, and with the condition that the balcony on the northernmost building as it faces the residence be removed.
Building 1A.
Thank you. Building 1A.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bishop. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a second by Commissioner Guerra. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Commissioner Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Item 7 on the agenda is a public hearing to consider approval of PD-301R3-HC, that being the Victory Shops Coppell zoning change request from Plan Development number 301 revision number 2 Highway Commercial to Plan Development number 301 revision number 3 Highway Commercial to revise the concept plan for the overall development of the site and to allow for a combination of retail, restaurant, office, and medical and daycare on 10 lots totaling approximately 16.77 acres of property, which incorporates a detailed site plan to allow 12,510 square feet multi-tenant building with restaurant and retail uses on Lot 3, Block A, on approximately 1.89 acres, a detailed site plan for 10,990 square feet of multi-tenant building with restaurant and retail uses on Lot 4, Block A, on approximately 1.72 acres of land, a detailed site plan for 7,530 square feet of square foot building with medical and retail uses on Lot 9, Block A, on approximately 0.97 acres, and a detailed site plan for 4,900 square foot multi-tenant building with restaurant and retail uses on Lot 10, Block A, on approximately 1.18 acres of land, all located on the southeast quadrant of South Beltline Road and Dividend Drive at the request of Victory Retail, Coppell, being represented by Kirkman Engineering. We have a staff presentation by Ms. Mary Peron Boswell. Mary?
Thank you, Chairman Haas. This is item 7, Victory Coppell, located, as you said, on the east side of Beltline Road between Dividend Drive and Hackberry Drive, or Hackberry Road. So we saw this proposal back in August. What they're coming before you this evening is a slight amendment to the concept plan, as well as approval for 4 detailed site plans for Lot 3, 4, 9, and 10. So essentially, this 16.766 acre tract stretches along the east side of Beltline Road from Dividend to Hackberry. Again, the proposed concept plan identifies 10 lots ranging in size with a variety of retail, restaurant, medical office building fronting on South Beltline Road. The combination of quick serve restaurants with drive-throughs, sit-down restaurants with outdoor patios, and all the pad sites along Beltline Road with restaurants are proposing a drive-through component. None of that has changed from the last time we brought this forward to you. So the 3 lots at the rear of the property are proposed to contain larger buildings ranging from 1 to 3 stories in height. These pad sites will also have a combo of retail, restaurant. One of the pad sites at the back is proposed to be 3 stories tall, have an office component, as well as the daycare facility with a shaded structure at the rear. This was also proposed with the last time we brought this forward. Then there's a lot with a 2-story building proposed to have retail, restaurant, outdoor dining. The banquet facility on the 2nd floor has been eliminated from this proposal and replaced with office, and in doing so accounts for a repatriation of parking spaces for the entire site. So the new concept plan still identifies a variety of retail, restaurants, medical office. However, some of these buildings have expanded in size. So all the buildings that you see colored have expanded in size, which necessitated a revision of the concept plan. Had the buildings for lots 3, 4, 9, and 10 matched or been smaller than previously approved, staff would have been able to process that administratively. So the proposed changes are a result of actual tenants, specifically restaurants, needing more building space than originally proposed. The building on Lot 9 will also have a retail component in addition to the medical portion, and almost doubled in size from 4,000 square feet to 7,530 square feet. The restaurants for lots 3 and 4 required additional room as well, expanding the buildings up to about 2,000 square feet. All of these changes create a domino effect on the overall site, the lot lines, parking, etc. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to see, but this represents the paving plan for phase 1. So you can see there's a center spine road going north to south, so for left to right as you're looking at it on the screen, dividend to Hackberry Road, which will be constructed with the first phase of development to allow for the development of the lots fronting South Beltline Road. So that's identified in gray. The other driveway approaches on Beltline Road will also be part of the first phase of development, allowing for cross-access and fire lane requirements. So you can see, it looks like a light purpley color, the 4 lots that are proposed to be constructed with phase 1. We did also talk with the developer about, and they agreed to start construction of the linear park with phase 1 as well. So as I mentioned, really the changes that we're looking at, so now we're looking at the detailed site plan for, this one is Lot 3. The building for Lot 3 has increased in square footage from 10,350 square feet to 12,510 square feet. 96 parking spaces provided. So this just shows you the proposed lot configuration, the increased building size, and all the parking spaces and landscaping proposed for Lot 3. In terms of elevations, the elevations for this building haven't changed, just the building's gotten a little bit larger. The next detailed site plan is for Lot 4, which sits on the southernmost entrance, main entrance to the site. Lot 4, the increase in square footage for the building was from 9,550 square feet up to 10,990 square feet. This will also have 78 parking spaces provided on site. So again, you can see the lot configuration and the proposed landscaping for this Lot 4. Again, the elevations for this building have not changed from what was previously approved, only the building size. So the next one is Lot 9. This is just the second lot north of Hackberry. So originally this was a medical office building, a standalone building. This building was actually expanded, as previously mentioned, from 4,000 square feet to 7,530 square feet. And this will allow for a multi-tenant building for medical and retail uses. The elevation for this building has changed because the building itself has significantly changed in size, and the lot itself. But it does mirror the others approved, sharing common design elements and materials. And there we go. And finally, there's Lot 10, which is the building to be located at the corner, the hard corner of Hackberry and Beltline Road. So this just shows you again the lot lines and the landscaping required. Nothing's changed with this one in terms of the building size or the elevations. So we did send out notices, 8 within 200 feet, an additional 3 courtesy notices within, 8 notices within 200 feet, an additional 3 courtesy notices within 800 feet. We received no responses. So staff is recommending approval of this request, essentially the same conditions as were previously approved. I'll kind of read through them. Other than K, which is the banquet hall, because there's no more banquet hall proposed for this site. So one, maybe additional comments during detailed engineering review. 2, a final plat will be required prior to permitting each of the detailed plans. The TIA will be needed to be updated to reflect the proposed building expansions. They have provided that to staff, and staff is currently reviewing that. Right turn lane to be constructed along South Beltline Road with this project. 5, revise the landscape plans and calculations. We're working on a couple of the landscaping plans prior to City Council. And then the PD conditions. A, all signage shall comply with city regulations. B, plans for the linear park shall require staff approval. C, the focal point artwork shall require staff approval and shall be in place prior to the issuance of a CO for the buildings at the rear of the property. D, a POA shall be required prior to filing of the final plat. E, a detailed site plan shall be required for the development of any of the lots. F, a tree survey and tree mitigation, if any, shall be required at the time of detailed plan development. G, that the daycare shall be allowed and not require a circular drive. H, parking shall be allowed in the front yard as shown. I, restaurants with drive-through shall be allowed as shown on the concept plan. J, to allow the monument signs as presented previously. And K has been removed since the banquet hall is no longer on the plans. That is the end of my presentation. The applicant is in the audience as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mary. Any questions of staff by the commission? Okay. Would the applicant like to present the case? Good evening. If I could get your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Commission. Yes, Robert Mendoza, Victory Real Estate Group, on behalf of the applicant at 2911 Turtle Creek, Dallas, Texas, 75209.
Okay. Seems like we saw this one not too long ago, but here it is again.
Yeah.
Are you in agreement with the conditions as
Yes,
presented
I'm
by
in
staff?
agreement with the conditions. We worked with staff on some of the changes that we made, just due to a few of the, tenant requests and, changes that have occurred recently in the market and things. So that's the main reason of making a few adjustments on the buildings and making them multi-tenant from single tenant.
Any anticipated timeline on when construction might be starting?
As soon as if we get site plan approval, we'll be in with our infrastructure and buildings for civil, and then followed by building permit and getting ready to construct as soon as we can. Our goal is to deliver these buildings as fast as possible.
Good. Any questions of the applicant? Freddie?
I do have one question. With the site plan, with the Starbucks identified there, did you kind of explain like the flow of traffic in the morning?
Yeah. Can we go to the overall site plan? Yeah, so they're going to be moving to Lot 10 on the end-cap drive-through.
Yes.
And the reason that building actually got smaller, and the reason is because corporately what they wanted was more stacking in anticipation for your question and being able to handle that. So what we did was provided a wrap around the building that I think I couldn't tell you exactly the number of additional cars, but we went through a strenuous process with them corporately. From a morning traffic perspective, I guess it just depends on where you're turning, but the morning traffic is actually going towards 635, so
Yes.
that they're going to have a left turn right there at pad 9, which gets you into the flow of the way the drive-through is actually constructed. If somebody's coming from the other direction, there's also the pass-through lane that goes behind the building and brings you around between the buildings that allows you to line up with the drive-through as well. So we looked at this and went through that process with the tenant.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sure the engineering staff will have many questions, final questions on the development review there. So, any other comments by the commission or questions of the applicant? City.
I was just curious, can you share with us what restaurants are proposed for Lot 3 and 4?
Like specific names?
Yes, if you can share.
Or
I
the
can
type
give you,
of
I can give you
restaurant.
two, I can give you the two that are executed, and then I can give you the categories that are working for the end caps.
Okay.
So on Lot 3, that building, I believe, is Dilla's Quesadillas. You know, I don't know if y'all are familiar with them. They have one near Prestonwood Church. And then Lot 4 is actually Piata, Italian street food. That'll be taking that end cap drive-through. So those two end cap drive-throughs end cap drive-throughs are the hottest thing out there right now. So if you notice, three of the four buildings have them that we're building in phase 1, and all three of those are spoken for already. In Lot 3, I'm talking to I would call it a fast casual Italian pizza concept. About I think they're going to be somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 square feet, depending on how we shake out with the patio and parking. And then on Lot 4, I've got a sit-down breakfast restaurant that we're talking to that would take somewhere, again, between 2,500 and 3,000 square feet, again, depending on how the parking shakes out in there as well. And then also in Lot 3, we have Capriati's Italian subs, which is an executed transaction there.
Great, thank you.
Yes. Welcome.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak? I'm sorry. Ed, did you have any questions of the applicant? I forgot you're out there in the virtual world.
I did not, thank you.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody who'd like to speak for or against the proposed application? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by the commission, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of PD 301 R3 HC Victory Shops Coppell, a zoning request from PD 301 R2 H2 to PD 301 R3 HC, subject to staff conditions.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Guerra. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Blankenship. Cammie, would you call the roll?
Please respond by saying aye or nice. I call your name. Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, item 8 on the agenda is update on council actions. We reviewed those in our pre-session. Item 9 would be adjournment. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to the commission, to staff, and to our community. So with that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 7:09.